questions that have come up over the last few weeks as folks have come up to say goodbye. Many have asked, so what's next? Where are you going? Well, the short answer is, I'm not sure yet. After my last day here, I'll be spending at least a year away from this congregation, in much the same way that Reverend Christine took a year away from First Unitarian when she retired. This means I will not be attending any church events, gatherings, or worship services. It also means that for at least a year, I will not be in contact with anyone who is part of the First Unitarian community. Now, this doesn't mean that we can't say hi to one another in the grocery store if we see each other. The point is not to pretend that we don't exist. It just means that I will not be calling or emailing any of you to get together, and I kindly ask that you all refrain from doing the same. And for any of us who are friends on Facebook, I don't feel the need to unfriend you. However, I will be changing my settings so that for the next year at least, I will only be sharing my posts with a small group of family and friends who are not a part of the First Unitarian community. It's nothing personal. And I look forward to seeing your posts and you being able to see mine once the time of separation is over. And while I'll be leaving the First Unitarian community soon, I won't be leaving Albuquerque right away. I'll be using my time this fall to prepare for two things: my fellowship interview and the ministerial search process. In December, I'll go to the Unitarian Universalist Association headquarters in Boston to see the Ministerial Fellowship Committee. If all goes well at that interview, they will grant me preliminary fellowship, which officially makes me a minister in our denomination. I will then be eligible to go into search for a congregation. Now, the way the search process works for congregations looking for a minister, and likewise for ministers looking for a congregation, is that everything happens on a cycle. It's a lengthy process that kicks off in January and it runs into May. It involves many virtual and in-person interviews with a handful of congregational search committees. And as I learn more about the potential congregations through the interview process, I should be able to determine which is the best fit for me and my style of ministry, and hopefully the congregation that I end up choosing chooses me back. If all goes well in that process, then by the beginning of April, Emily and I will know where we are headed next. And then after spending a week with that congregation in early May, they will confirm me as their minister with a congregational vote, and then we'll have the summer to pack and to move to our new home. Which means that right about the time our 1 year of separation ends, Emily and I will be packing and moving. However, the silver lining is that I grew up in Albuquerque, and I still have family and friends here, which means I will likely be back for occasional visits, and I very much look forward to coming back here to First Unitarian when I'm in town. Another question I've been getting is, what will I do if I'm not employed for the next year? How am I going to make it? Not to worry. First of all, people don't go into ministry for the money. Little known secret. I suppose some prosperity gospel preachers might, but that's not the case in our denomination. In fact, I remember Angela saying at the ordination of James Galazinski that if he could see himself doing anything other than ministry, to do that instead. Ministry is a calling, and those of us who do it because we cannot imagine doing anything else with our lives. That is to say, I am not the primary source of income in our family. My wonderful and supportive wife, Emily, is a nurse, and we are prepared to live on her income for the next year while I am unemployed. I'll provide a little passive income by guest preaching in other congregations, which will also help me stay in the practice of writing sermons and leading worship. And speaking of Emily, I'd like to mention that the time away from this congregation applies to me, but not to her. so you will continue to see her around the community on many Sundays throughout the year. So that's what's coming next. And as this process unfolds over the next year, I will be in contact with Angela so that she can prepare updates and stay up to date, and then inform all of you as well about what's going on. I look forward to sharing good news with you in the spring when I find out where I'm going. And now that we've looked ahead to what's coming next, I'd like to turn the other way and look back at the past 3 years. I'd like to share with you some of what was happening for me during that time, although you may not have known it. A few months ago, knowing that this final service was coming, I asked Susan Peck if the band could learn the song Baby Bird by the Wallflowers, the song that we just heard during the offering. As I reflect on my time here at First Unitarian, I find this song resonates so deeply with my experience. I'm so grateful to Susan for taking up the request, and I am grateful to the band for learning it and playing it as part of the service today. Thank you, Spare Parts. When I came here to Albuquerque 3 years ago for my internship, it was actually a returning. I grew up in Albuquerque, graduating from high school, attending UNM for a few years, and then moving away in my mid-20s. When I lived here then, I dreamed of flying the nest that is Albuquerque, this high desert nest. And I did. For about 8 years, I got to live in other parts of the country and experience many things. The joyful, the painful, and everything in between. In my time away, I found 2 very important pieces of my life: my wife, Emily, and Unitarian Universalism. And when I decided to return home, Albuquerque, my high desert nest, was here, waiting for me, ready to accept me with open arms, just like in the Wallflowers song. Come back, baby bird, with your dirty wings and tatters. Come home where you belong, nobody knows you better. One of the biggest differences between my first stint in Albuquerque and my return to it over the last 3 years is this church community. When I came back in September of 2016, it was to a new community that was in a familiar setting. And it was only supposed to be for 9 months. But toward the end of that 9-month internship, the plan changed. Knowing that Christine would be retiring at the end of the coming summer, Angela brought up the possibility of me staying on as a contract minister for 2 years to support the congregation through that ministerial transition. I had not been expecting it, but what an opportunity. And so after consulting with Emily, I said yes, we said yes to staying in Albuquerque for 2 more years. That additional, unexpected time here really allowed me to deepen my connection to this place. And by this place, I mean both the broader community of Albuquerque and also this community here at First Unitarian. And those deeper connections have helped me grow in a way that just isn't possible through any other means. There is no substitute for beloved community. And I am so grateful to have been nurtured by this one. So grateful, in fact. You may not know the extent to which you nurtured and supported me through one of the most difficult experiences of my life. In September of 2018, almost a year ago, I went to Boston to see the Ministerial Fellowship Committee. This was my interview. That had it gone well, I would have received preliminary fellowship and become a Unitarian Universalist minister. But it didn't go well. They wanted to see me again before granting me fellowship, and so they sent me away with some things to work on and asked me to return no sooner than a year later. It wasn't the end of the world, but it felt like it. I was devastated. I felt that I had not been seen for who I was, for who I am. That who they thought I was not the person that I knew myself to be. I was shaken. And the committee's doubt about my abilities as a minister caused me to doubt my identity as a minister. I felt ashamed, and I forgot that our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, applies to myself as well as to others. In this difficult moment of self-doubt in my identity as a minister, one of the things that kept me going was knowing that I was still accepted here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, at the First Unitarian Church. That this community saw me as a minister, even when the Ministerial Fellowship Committee and even myself did not. Sorry for just a second. I didn't talk much about this experience as I was going through it. For a while afterwards, I just went on autopilot, completing the tasks of my job, but believing that I was inadequate to do them. If anyone asked about the interview, I would just say that it hadn't gone as well as I'd hoped, but that all would be fine, and oh, look at that, time to change the subject. The thing is, even though I didn't believe it at the time, that was the truth. The interview hadn't gone as well as I'd hoped, and it would all be fine. It will all be fine. You see, this community, all of you, were there to support me and hold me when I hit what I now realize was a bump in the road. But at the time, I experienced it as a devastating loss. When the Ministerial Fellowship Committee wasn't sure if they saw a minister, you all did. You all were sure. And that helped me see the minister in myself. Bring back your velvet heart and we'll make you brand new feathers. Sleep through the morning light with your arms around your brothers. Baby bird, come back home. Baby bird, you were never really on your own. Indeed. I came back from my encounter with the Ministerial Fellowship Committee with my dirty wings and tatters, and you made me brand new feathers. You embraced me and affirmed me and assured me I was not alone and that I never really had been. And now, 10 months after that painful encounter, I share this with you, not because I want you to feel sorry for me, but because I want you to know how powerful and transformative and wonderful you all are. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at speaking through my tears. Please do not underestimate what a beloved community like you, like this one, is capable of doing. You inspire growth and healing in hurting people and in a broken world. You tend to aches of the heart and wounds of the soul, and you have helped me heal. And I know that I am not the only one. And so, this brings us to where we are now. Neither looking ahead nor looking back, but being present. And right here, in this moment, I have so many feelings to share. The first is the bittersweetness of this moment. I've known since I got here that this day was coming, but dang it if saying goodbye doesn't still sting. And that's okay. To quote Winnie the Pooh, how lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. But I don't want to linger here too long in the bittersweetness. It is enough to acknowledge it and then to move to some of the other feelings that are present in this moment, like gratitude. I am feeling so much gratitude for you, the congregation of First Unitarian. I want you to know that each one of you is special and unique in your own way. But you know that saying about the whole being greater than the sum of its parts? Well, that is definitely true here. You each bring the special gifts of your presence and your being, but what you have built here together, the beloved community you have become, is a precious gift greater than anyone could do or be alone. I am so grateful to the staff of First Unitarian. The team that helps this church carry out its mission in the wider world is a really good team. You all need to know that. And they are not just good at what they do, they are good people as well. I have so enjoyed working with them. Thank you very much, staff. I am grateful to everyone who said yes when I needed help with a committee, or a program, or an event, or a class. Thank you for lending your support. And I am grateful also to everyone who said no when I asked for something, and you knew you couldn't provide it. Reverend Kirk Lodeman Copeland shared with me that he prefers a thoughtful no to a thoughtless yes, and I wholeheartedly agree. I am grateful to Angela for skillfully balancing being my boss, my minister, and my colleague. I am grateful to Christine Robinson, for her continued guidance and support after my formal internship ended. And I'm grateful to my other colleagues in ministry who have lifted me up and have supported me with their generous wisdom and their experience when I've needed it. And I am so incredibly grateful to a very special member of this congregation, my wife, Emily Kuo. She has been with me every step of the way on this path to ministry. Her ongoing support in every way has made this journey possible. Emily, thank you. I love you. And I am grateful that it ended the way that we intended for it to end. That today is the culmination of what we envisioned more than 2 years ago. We did it. We were able to see the plan through, and we've arrived at this moment just as we hoped that we would. And that brings me to another feeling. that I'm feeling right now, and that is hope. I hope that my time here will have a lasting impact. I hope that I wasn't merely a placeholder and that something I've done here has contributed to the development of this beloved community. I hope that at times I was able to feed your intellect, and at other times I was able to touch your heart and nourish your spirit. I hope and have every reason to believe that this community will continue to be a place of transformation, healing, and love. May you all be blessed as you have blessed me. And now, as I leave the nest, this time feeling far more ready to fly, I am reminded that I am never alone, for I carry you with me in your heart wherever I may go. Thank you.
Well, here we are. Dan arrived as a brand new intern 3 years ago. We were his teaching congregation and had the great joy of seeing him grow in ministry. Then he became ministerial resident and stayed on to help us through a ministerial transition. And today he has succeeded in that role, and his time here with us ends. Dan, to be a minister is a big job. In fact, it's more than a job, it's an identity that requires not just hours, but heart and soul and mind. And the congregation and I are so grateful for your ministry. We give thanks for all you have shared of your time and of yourself. And as we say goodbye, we have a couple of parting gifts. So first, you'll have to come back up here for this part. First, we present to you a meditation chime, very much like the one we use every Sunday. A reminder to you that you'll be in our prayers wherever you go. Go for it. All right.
Deeper, different resonance. It's bigger. Oh,
you can put it here, and I'll give it to you again at the 11 o'clock service. He didn't know what was going to be in the basket. I told him it was a puppy. So he'd be extra grateful. And next, Carmen Zamora has a gift for you. Carmen's been a member of our congregation for 20 years next month, so I'll let her say a little bit more about the gift she has prepared.
I don't know how many years ago, but Kitty Lamb made the first mural stole. And since that time, if I'm correct in this, every single ministerial intern or resident has received one, made either by me or Carol Bonda. So, yes, take that one off. And this one has a heart. So Dan, we see you. And I want you to accept this from us, your First U congregation, and when you wear it, remember us.
Thank you. I accept these gifts, and they will remind me of this congregation forever. Thank you very much.
And excuse me, Angela, for interrupting your service, but when I was making Dan's, it occurred to me that I was not in town when Angela was installed as our senior minister. So for second service, she's going to have to feign surprise. But for first service,
Oh, Carmen. Oh.
and if it's too long, I'll cut it off.
I'm going to wear it to El Paso today.
Great.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Will you join me in a parting blessing for Dan? We have a slide to go along with this. I will read the plain font, you'll read the italics, and watch out, the very last one is different, okay? For the longing that told you it was time for a change, we give you our blessings. For the courage it took to answer the call, for the choices already made and the daily choices that will shape the life ahead of you. For the communities that have shown you who you are and the new communities waiting to discover you in your new ventures. For the great mystery of what lies ahead. For the ministry we have shared, we give you our thanks and our blessings.
I gratefully receive your thanks and your blessings, and I return them back upon you. Thank you.
If you could please rise for our closing hymn, For All That Is Our Life.